Yo, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. So starting this video off with updates of our current reigning Mr. Olympia Big Ramy, and it does look like winter is coming. Now, before all these updates were being put out by Big Ramy, we were having conversations about, Nick Walker can win the Olympia, William Bonac, Brandon Curry. But since updates of Big Ramy have been coming out, it's seeming like no one is denying the fact that Ramy is probably going to win his third title this year. And taking a good look at Ramy at about 14 or 15 weeks out from the Mr. Olympia, he seems to be on track or maybe even ahead of schedule. I don't think Big Ramy is going to have a problem nailing his conditioning at all. And Chad Nichols and Dennis James promised a better version of Big Ramy, so hopefully we see that in December. Now, he also put up these rear lat spread pose, and this would definitely look a lot more impressive next to other guys. As you guys know, Ramy's rear lat spread is just so wide, it's almost undeniable. But excited to see these updates of Big Ramy, man, and going forward, hopefully we continue to see updates of Big Ramy. Now, switching over to former Mr. Olympia Brandon Curry. On the left, his coach Abdullah put this up recently. Not much, but I do want to talk about Brandon Curry. And with Brandon Curry, people either think he's going to win this year's Olympia or he's not even going to be in the top 5. And the people that don't think he'll be in the top 5, they're gauging that Brandon is probably going to come in with the same package from the Arnold Classic. But I think Brandon will be improved. As long as Curry is better than last year's Olympia and he doesn't move backwards, I do think he will remain in that top 3. As I've said numerous times, Brandon is very dangerous in every single pose. Both front, both side, both back, ab and thigh, and most muscular. Brandon Curry can get you everywhere. If Brandon had some legs, then these guys would be in some real trouble. But hopefully Brandon is better than the Arnold Classic in December. And in the next update of the day, these are the latest updates of Hadi Choopan. And I noticed on the left that Hadi's legs are so pumped, he literally had to peel the shorts off his legs. And as I've been mentioning lately, what if Hadi Choopan is better than last year, guys? What if Big Ramy, Brandon Curry are better than last year? Everyone are looking at the top 3 and pretty much gauging them to come in the same or maybe even worse. But if all 3 of these guys improve, I can tell you now they will not be beat. But Hadi Choopan does look incredible. Always hard to gauge how Hadi looks because he's always so conditioned, so I don't know if anything is recent. Can't really tell how much he weighs because he's always just so vascular. But with Hadi, people are the same way. They either love Hadi, think he's going to win the Olympia, or they think he's full of synthol. But as I mentioned before, if Hadi, Ramy, and Brandon are all improved from last year's Olympia, I don't think anyone new is going to break into their top 3. Now, switching over to Michal Krizo, he posted this up on his story recently, so we will take it as recent. Not much, but a couple people have been asking me for Krizo updates. Now, Krizo should be doing the Amateur Olympia to try to earn his pro card, and then he will be hopping into the Prague Pro Show to earn his qualification for this year's Olympia. And Samir Banu has been speaking very highly of Michal Krizo over on the Muscle Maturity podcast with Nick Trigili and John Hansen. You guys should check that out if you haven't. Pretty good podcast. But I'm excited to see Krizo over here in the IFBB, man. Hopefully he can do some damage. Now, switching over to Horse MD Marcelo De Angelis, a guy we haven't talked about in a long time. Now, on the left is the most recent update of Marcelo, who is looking absolutely massive. And just on the right is just a reminder of how good this guy actually looks on stage. And I have no idea why he tried to compete in the Classic Physique division. I think Classic is just very popular, He was actually saying he planned on winning that show and going into this year's Classic Olympia and beating Chris Bumstead. But as we all know, Horse MD never made weight at that Classic Physique show. And after that, he decided to go ahead and move up to Open. But once again, I don't get why he didn't want to compete in Open from the beginning, because with him being a more aesthetic guy, he would definitely stand out in the Open lineup, versus when you put Marcelo in a Classic lineup, he doesn't necessarily have the smallest waist. Switch him to Open and he's one of the more aesthetic guys there already. He just has to play to his own strengths. But I'm excited to see this guy compete. No idea when's the next time he's going to hop on stage, but hopefully it is soon. And while I still have the attention of the Brazilian subscribers over here on the channel, these are recent training updates of Ramon Dino. Now, I wanted to share these because, as we all know, Ramon needed to bring up the hamstrings and the back. Back was pretty good, but hamstrings definitely needed some work, and he is doing everything in his power to bring them up. Now, something that I noticed, guys that need to bring up body parts like legs or back, we usually never see them working on the parts that they actually need to bring up. But we can see Ramon training very, very hard, even doing force reps to bring up those hamstrings. Hopefully we see the best Ramon ever in December, and hopefully he can shock some people, guys. Can Ramon place as high as top 2 at this year's Classic Olympia? And in the next update of the day, these are the most recent updates from James Hollingshead. Now, the picture on the left really impressed me. James looks incredible just standing there relaxed. But taking a look at this front double bicep and this side tricep, do you guys think this would be very competitive with Andrew Jake, Martin Fitzwater? Now, James has a lot to prove, mostly to himself going into this Arnold Classic UK. Just to do a quick flashback, after last year's Arnold Classic with Nick Walker winning and Ian Valliere taking second, James Hollingshead was actually mad. He said if I would have did that Arnold Classic, I would have beat Ian Valliere, placed second, and I would have lost to Nick there, but he said he would have beat Nick at the Olympia. But everything went wrong. James didn't nail his peak. He came in very, very off. So at this Arnold Classic UK, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a version of James that could stand with the top 6 at the Olympia. The words of James last year was he could have beat Ian at the Arnold. He could have beat Nick Walker at the Olympia. And at the Olympia, he wanted to be compared to Brandon Curry. So James, you had all of those high hopes for yourself. And I'm hoping at this Arnold Classic, we finally get to see a great version of you that is competitive with Nick Walker, Ian Valliere, and Brandon Curry. And switching over to Charles Griffen, these are the latest updates from him. And Charles Griffen actually hasn't been posting too much recently in the area of physique updates. Now, as you guys know, Charles is one of my favorites going into this year's Olympia to shake things up, hopefully get into their top 10, maybe even a little higher than that. And I think a lot of people don't have him on the radar, but that will definitely be a mistake. Charles probably has some of the best arms in the open class, and once he comes out and hit that front relax with the vacuum, the judges' eyes are definitely going to be drawn to him. Do not sleep on Charles Griffen for this year's Olympia. In the next update of the day, we get some recent training footage of Sergio Oliva Jr. And what is going on with Sergio? Is Sergio going to compete before this year is over? Earlier this year, or maybe even last year, he moved to Dubai, said he wanted to fall back in love with bodybuilding, but we haven't seen Sergio on a bodybuilding stage. Now, to me, Sergio always looks around the same size. He's definitely not small, but Sergio doesn't seem to be putting on massive amount of weight in the offseason as if he wants to improve. Sergio is one of my favorites. I really like his posing, but no idea what Sergio is doing. Hopefully, he's back on stage soon. And these are the latest updates of Andrea Muzi ahead of this weekend's Yamamoto Cup, as well as the Arnold Classic UK. Now, huge shout out to Andrea Muzi, also Theo LaGreria, Andrea Presti. If you guys remember earlier in the season, these guys were pretty much the only guys doing all of the shows. A lot of the higher name athletes did start competing till later in the year. So Muzi, Presti, and Theo were honestly keeping a lot of these shows alive. But I'm excited to see Muzi on stage. He's usually always in the mix for the top guys. As far as his Yamamoto Cup goes, he definitely has to be the favorite to win, him or Vlad. And speaking of Vlad, these are the latest updates from him ahead of this Yamamoto Cup. And Vlad is looking pretty good here. Now, he doesn't have the most pleasing physique to the eye. He has a very rugged physique. Vlad looks like a guy that just lifts a lot of heavy weights. And he always comes in big with crazy vascularity. And at the heart of bodybuilding, it is about size and conditioning. But back in Portugal, Vlad actually plays 5th to Muzi 2nd. So it will be interesting to see the rematch here. And, maybe Vlad can get the best of Muzi. Who knows? Now, switching over to Jay Cutler, I guess, and Regan Grimes. Jay Cutler put this up on his story, just Regan Grimes hitting a back leg spread in front of a wall mural of him. Regan's back is just incredible, man. Mr. Olympia level back. And as we all know, this will be a very competitive Mr. Olympia, so Regan doesn't have much room for error. And not just Regan Grimes, honestly anyone. Just taking top 10 at this year's Olympia would be a serious accomplishment just due to how stacked the lineup is. And if you come in a little bit off, you could find yourself in the 3rd call out or even lower than that. And in the next update of the day, on the left is the most recent update of Good Vito. And as you guys know, I don't pump too much hype into Vito or Krizo because I really want to see these guys on stage. But both of those guys have really been impressing me, especially Good Vito with their legs front double bicep update. Also, Vito is a young guy. He has a lot of time to improve and put on more size. I heard he actually moved to Brazil to work on bodybuilding more. Brazil is huge for bodybuilding, maybe even bigger than it is over here in the States. But I'm excited to see Vito compete in just under 8 weeks. Now, switching over to 212, this is Bryan Balzano, who was the winner of the 212 division at the Indy Pro. Going into this year's Olympia, I think he will be a threat. Now, 212 would be very interesting outside of the top 3. We have Derek Lunsford, may do it, may not. Kamal Elgarni, Sean Clarita. But after that, it's Angel Calderon, Kareth Bajo, Keon Pearson, potentially Bryan Balzano, Lucas Coelho. It's going to be very interesting to see all of the spots after the top 3 in the 212 division. Now, speaking of Lucas, these are some recent updates from him. And Lucas is very passionate about the sport of bodybuilding. Guy actually works a lot on his posing. Posing has improved a lot. He has very high hopes for himself. Want to place as high as top 5 this year. This guy has an incredible shape, just needs to bring up the back a little bit to be truly competitive. Now, since we're on the topic of 212, these are some recent updates from Cody Drobot. Cody competed in Tampa and Texas in the 212 division, taking top 5 in both shows. Now, Cody brings something a little bit different to the 212 division because, as you guys can see, he looks a little bit aesthetic. But that also could hold him back a little bit because 212 is judged like bodybuilding. It's not about being pretty, as Ian Valier said. If you want to be pretty, go to Classic. But Cody has an incredible look, and he will be competing at the Van City Showdown on October the 1st. And in the next update of the day, this is a recent update from Andre Deiu. Now, I know we really don't talk about men's physique over here on the channel, but Andre is one of my favorite athletes in that division. He's also an Evogen athlete and coached by Honey Rambod. And honestly, I believe if Andre is able to come in a bit more conditioned and also bringing his abs a little bit more dialed in. His abs used to be tighter earlier in his career, not sure exactly what happened. I believe he could be a future Olympia champion in the men's physique division. Now, ending this video here with my archive of the day, let me know in the comment section below which legendary bodybuilder is this. As always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm Krishan from Go Fitness, and that's it. I'm out.